Now, if you're looking for a trail bike to do this sort of stuff with, he says that they're $250. He's got a little bit better off-idle power, a little bit lighter, so it's a little easier to do this kind of thing on. He thinks that's really a good sweet spot. And that one's only, what, $5,000 MSRP? I mean, I don't know. Now, I'm not going to get political and say, oh, ignore the fact that it's Chinese and just buy it and ride it and enjoy it. I'm not going to tell people that, because I get that. But if you're looking for just a good, solid dual sport, it doesn't weigh 300 pounds, it doesn't cost $12,000, this is pretty good. I have to admit, I would put different mirrors on it if I owned it and I was dual sporting with it. Not that these don't function, they're really not any worse than the beta mirrors. Oh, what did I bump? It just stopped. Why? I might have let out the clutch a little bit too much while I was holding this front brake. But I mean, it's got a kickstart backup, so if you needed to kickstart it, you could. It's just good, solid motorcycle. It's got a good mid-range torque curve. That's what I'm trying to say. A good mid-range torque. It's just a little bit more awkward for me to stand up on because it's not built for me. Neither's my Beta, it's more stock, but I moved the bars forward in the triple clamp on my Beta, and the triple clamp on the Beta is angled just a little bit. Oh, there's that tree that I had to go around before. But once I moved the handlebars on the Beta, I was okay. It's better, it's not great. I still think I'll get some bar risers for it someday, but it's not bad. Now, see, that's pretty steep. I did that with no clutch. Tractored right up it. That's pretty good. Yeah, I know I'm slow, but this trail is right on the edge of my ability. Anything any harder than this, and I don't believe I could even attempt it. I'm having a few troubles with this one already, but it is so gorgeous, and I appreciate that. I appreciate the beauty of the place I'm in. You know, one thing about this bike too, this GPX, it has a stock skid plate on it. Oh, that was a rock. Stock skid plate. Has one, which is good. It's not the thickest, beefiest thing, but it does have linkage coverage. Stock from the factory. Even my Beta didn't have that. I had to get an aftermarket one to get linkage coverage. That's pretty cool. Not every manufacturer does that. Even if it's not the thickest, beefiest, toughest one ever, it still comes with one, so you can get started with it and then, you know, upgrade down the road if you felt the need. But at least you start off with some protection. I like that. Oh, I love being in the trees. So gorgeous. So yeah, first impressions on the first ride on the Chinese GPX FSE300R dual sport 4-stroke. Solid, good. For the money, can't find anything to complain about. I really can't. Bump. The brakes on this are better than what I have on my Beta. That's for sure. And this bike is not going to get me in whiskey throttle trouble. That's what I'm trying to say. Because it doesn't have that big, instant, strong power like the Beta has. You get on that throttle on that Beta and it just jumps. This one, it just pulls forward. Tractors nicely. Now it's a 300, not a 500. It's also not wound near as tight. The compression's not nearly as high as mine. Ferret Face told me today that the last time he looked at the website for GPX Moto there in Utah, they will ship it to your house. And he says the last time he looked a day or two ago on their website, they had, I think, 7 of their 450 versions of this in stock. And they're waiting for another shipment to come in. It's going to have more of these and the 250s and stuff. So, you know, right now, at the time of filming this video, availability of motorcycles in general is really hard. There's very little inventory. Everything is horribly expensive. Used bikes are very expensive. So being able to get something that to me is this capable and this solid and, you know, functional, which is what I care about, for $6,000 brand new, that's pretty good. I'm not noticing the weird steering sensation like I had in the beginning, and it's not because it's bad, it's just different than my Beta. And I don't know if that's a different rake angle or what. Narrower handlebars on my Beta, I don't know what it is, combination of the two, but I'm not noticing it much anymore. I've settled into a better feel for how this bike turns and that sort of thing. So the more I ride it, the more I like it. The biggest problem I'm having today is this trail. It's just harder than what I'm used to doing, harder than what I'm comfortable with. I know it looks nice and flat on the camera, but it's not. Six-speed gearbox, so you're not stuck with, you know, ancient old technology like a DRZ with a 5-speed gearbox, which is nice. I am sitting down a lot on this ride though. Part of that is the standing position for me is pretty awkward. There's also a lot of ouch things like that, low hanging branches. I'm trying not to stick my face through. Momentum is your friend. That was much harder than most things I have ridden in my life. I know it's not going to look like much to you guys on the camera, but for me looking at it, that was spooky. But you know, I went right through it. I'm kind of proud of myself. That's going to sound horribly dorky and cheesy to you guys that have been doing this kind of riding your whole life. But I'm basically a beginner, and I'm so pleased that I got through that. This mid-range torque on this though Coming up some of that steep stuff from first gear in the mid RPM range, it just tractors right up it. No problem. Water crossing. I like this right one here. Now, one thing I learned about this bike, this GPX, is that for this particular model, the 300, it puts out 15% more horsepower at the wheel than the Kawasaki KLX300. Now, generally speaking, that's not probably going to be enough to matter, but at the elevations that we're in here in Colorado, it does matter some, as you lose so much as you go up in elevation. It also puts out, I think, 20% more power than the Honda CRF 300. It does not have the crazy power that my Beta has, but nothing does. It's also a 300, not a 500 like mine. This is a pretty good engine. This is a legitimate 300cc engine. Some people feel like, oh, Chinese, it's going to be like a little Chinese scooter. Nope. It is not like that. This has got good power. It's got good suspension. Pretty good solid bike. I've been pretty impressed. So if you're on a budget and you don't have, like I said before, Beta money, KTM money, you might consider this. Look at that. I've been coasting down here in neutral with the bike turned off because it's all downhill and it's scaring me because of this exposure over here. That's steep. If I go off this edge here to my left, there is no stopping me except for maybe that tree down there, but I don't want to test that theory. That's beautiful though. We got a few dead pines though. I don't know if, looks like there's a fire at some point, but doesn't look recent. It's beautiful though. Quiet, peaceful. Ferret faces way out in front of me. He's a lot faster than I am. But isn't that gorgeous? This is why I come out here and do this. You don't get these kind of views just driving through town. It just doesn't happen. So we came down that long thing. I didn't film most of it because I wasn't talking, and I prefer watching videos where people talk. I get bored easy if I'm watching videos of just people riding, but trail came down here and fizzled out. We got to go back up and up and up. It's a mile and a half. Almost all of it is up, and there's some pretty bad exposure up there. Thing about this bike though, it's got good torque. It tractors like this. First gear at 11 miles an hour, grinding up this hill. Does it really well. First gear's really short, so I don't have to worry about going slow, because it will, more so than my Beta. There'd have been more clutch work on this trip with my Beta than there has been on this. Ouch. Don't go backwards. It's really hard to hug the mountainside because of all the shrubs over there. That's steep. I'm tired. Alright. I'm not going to make you guys suffer through this. I'll see you when I get to the top. Huh. Wet Mountain Pioneers. I don't know if you can read this on the camera or not. Very cool. Feel free to pause it if you want to. What a beautiful place. My goodness. Guys, those are my thoughts on the GPX FSE300R. Good solid bike. It's got good serrated foot pegs. It's got good brakes. It's got a good suspension. It's got a good torquey motor, particularly in the mid-range. And it even handled getting dumped in the river and drowned, and getting water in the cylinder by ferret face a few weeks ago up in Wyoming. That's pretty impressive. So guys, thanks for coming along as always. I appreciate it, and I will see you next time.